Hello, welcome to another section. And so in this section, we're going to be looking at JavaScript a bit in depth more and then touching a bit of jQuery in this current section. This is our last session for today's class, and it will be very nice. I would like you that followed us all the way from the beginning down to now. It will be very wonderful if you could also complete it. I promise you will not regret it. I still remain your favorite instructor, Okolo Chukwudi Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Join me as we continue in the class. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at events and event handling. And if you observe in the last section, in the last demo that we did, you can see the code here. We had button, you see in the index page, I told us that this is an event. Button on click equal to calculate results. Yes, what is an event? An event can simply be defined as everything an end user can do on a web page. Okay, everything an end user can do what on a web page. Now, HTML and CSS don't have the capacity to take advantage of users' actions on a web page. This is why we say JavaScript adds interactivity to websites. So HTML and CSS cannot really be able to handle. HTML and CSS cannot really be able to handle any of manipulating events in a HTML in a page. They cannot respond to events, but with the help of JavaScript, you can gladly respond to events conveniently. That is how JavaScript works. So with the help of JavaScript, we have various events we can respond to, various kind of interactions that an end user can have, that an end user can actually have in. Okay, so the end user, yes, for the end user. So your end user can click a button, they can enter inputs from their keyboard, they can reload a page. You may want to take certain actions to respond to some of these events. When your user does that, you can do that with the help of events and event handling in JavaScript. What we say, events occur when actions happen on the page, e.g. clicks, input changes, submission of forms, handling events via inline attributes or standard event listeners. So in JavaScript, you can either handle events via inline attributes. Example of inline attribute is what we did here. You can see on click equal to calculate what result. This is an example of an inline attribute, but this is good. But the best way to do it is to make use of this pattern, whereby we use an event listener. Whereby we make use of an event listener, e.g. you see document of get element by ID btn. Btn is any button that has that btn ID, that ID called btn dot add event listener. Over here you send a string containing the event, and over here the second argument is the function that is going to be executed when that particular event occurs. And of course, we always have the e.prevent default, because the e.prevent default, in case the button clicked, is going to link to a different page. It will prevent the user from going to that page and allow this code to first execute. Before any other thing can happen. So that's why the e.prevent default function in Java is there. The purpose of that function is to prevent HTML documents from taking their standard default, action. When the HTML elements from taking their standard default action when actions take place. That is the purpose of e.prevent default, to prevent that from happening, and then you take a different and then allow the JavaScript to first execute before the default action can take place, before power is handed over to the default action. So what basically happens here is that e.prevent default is used to stop a HTML element from acting the way it is meant to act, to allow a particular client-side script to first execute first and then hand over power back, or continue and complete the execution when that particular action is taking place. E stands for what? Event. So this is how it works in JavaScript. Okay, now we have various kinds of events in JavaScript. Time will fail me to be able to mention all the events in JavaScript, but I can tell you, as we keep progressing in this class, we are going to begin to understand more and more of these things. We have the click event, we have the input, the key up event, we have the key down event, we have the input event, that's for when you're dealing with forms, we have the key change event, we have the key press event. The various kinds of events that we have in JavaScript. There are lots of events. These are all events, are basically the various things that can happen, that an end user can do on your web page. Yes, that is exactly what events are. Then we now have what we call regular expression. Regex defines search patterns for pattern matching and form validation. Regular expression is just talking of how a particular data is supposed to be, or how a user input is supposed to come, how it should be. Now we all know that every email address must come have an at, have some words before the at, and must have a dot. And after the dot, they must end with a dot something. And the dot something must have either three letter, four letter, but it must end with a dot something. We already know that that is a standard in email, right? So that makes email to have what? A regular what? Expression. That is a regular expression. We all know in Nigeria, phone numbers must either, a phone number cannot start, must start with zero in Nigeria. Yeah, in other countries, phone numbers may not need to start with zero, but in Nigeria as a country, for instance, now a phone number must start with zero. So if someone is trying to enter a phone number, you can create a regular expression that ensures that if the person enters a phone number, if there is no 234 in the beginning, there is no plus 234 in the beginning, and the person just enters a phone number without a zero starting it, that means that that number is a wrong number. So in that case, with the help of regular expression, so what is regular expression? Simply put, you can say a regular expression can be defined as the standard pattern expected from certain inputs from the end user. That is exactly what regular expression does. The standard pattern expected from certain inputs from the end user. This is exactly what regular expression does. It just shows how a particular thing is meant to appear. And if it doesn't work in that pattern, if that input does not come in that pattern, that input has to be rejected, because according to the validation rules, it must come with that pattern. You can see over here we have an email pattern, email regular expression example here. Even with the help of regular expression, I believe some of you have visited some websites whereby you are trying to sign up, and they will tell you that your password must contain an uppercase, a lowercase, cannot contain special characters, must contain a number. All those things are all part of what? Regular expression. So regular expression is simply saying this is a pattern that this particular data must come in. If it doesn't come in this pattern, reject it. That is exactly what regular expression does. Okay, and if it checks if what you prepared, if the data provided by the user is checked against the regular expression and it doesn't match, what happens at the end of the day? Very straightforward. The data entered by the user is rejected, or another action is taken by you, the developer. Okay, then we now look at jQuery and jQuery mobile overview. What is jQuery? Like I said in the last class, I said jQuery can be defined as a fast JavaScript library, simplifying document objects manipulation, selection, manipulation, and event handling. jQuery can simply be defined as an easier way of writing JavaScript. That's just the simplest way to put it. Yeah, you can call it an easier way of writing what? JavaScript. Now, like I said earlier I think that was in the first session of today, I said that when you are writing JavaScript code, that JavaScript code are usually bulky. Some things that you may do in other languages with maybe 3 or 4 lines of code. In JavaScript, you may have to use 10, 15 lines to achieve the same results. Okay, so because why? And that's mainly because JavaScript is a functional programming language, and functional programming languages are usually very bulky by nature. So what does jQuery do? jQuery helps you to compress so many of these things you will want to do normally with native JavaScript, or another name for JavaScript is vanilla JavaScript. Another name for JavaScript is also ECMAScript. But then in today's world, we call it vanilla JavaScript. That is the normal JavaScript, because right now JavaScript is one programming language that have had lots and lots of variations take place on that particular language over time. That is just one thing about JavaScript. A lot of variations have taken place on JavaScript over time. So what do we do? So jQuery helps to, is a fast JavaScript library that simplifies DOM selection, manipulation, and event handling. The job of jQuery is just to simplify your JavaScript coding. Some things you would have spent more time to do on JavaScript. With the help of jQuery, just by calling a single method or function, you can get those things done also. That is what jQuery is for. Then jQuery has a junior brother which works under it, which is like a library. jQuery is a very large library and has had a lot of plugins built for it over the past, and that is the jQuery Mobile. And what do we say here? jQuery Mobile touch optimized HTML5 framework for smart mobile devices using data row attributes, e.g. data-row equal to page, data-row equal to header, data-row equal to what? Button. So jQuery Mobile can be defined as a HTML5 framework that is touch optimized, and the whole purpose of jQuery Mobile is to make your website responsive on mobile devices. This is not to say you're not going to make use of your CSS, you're not going to make use of every other thing, but then even if you're going to make use of them, you need to make your website, it handles the aspect of making your website responsive completely for you. Okay, now let us just quickly look at this classwork. In the next class, we're going to go a bit more deeper in jQuery. Yeah, so if we copy, we replace our CSS over here with this CSS code. Okay, we have done that, and then we'll come here. Is the next code. The next code should be our JavaScript, not even our HTML. Okay, it's our HTML. We'll copy the code of our HTML, and so let's see. Okay, so this is it. We have done that. Now let's keep moving. So it's going to be the CSS. Okay, so now we have that working. Yes, so this is it. So now do we have is there more code to add? I think we should have a JavaScript code too. Okay, we don't have a JavaScript code, so we have our JavaScript code mixed inside our HTML in this case scenario. Now, so let's see. Okay, I think my CSS is supposed to be CSS/style CSS/style.css. Okay, so this is a very good example of jQuery at work. Now let us understand this script. What is happening here? I don't really need to introduce anything here, but then this is jQuery here. We are introducing jQuery over here. jQuery can be included into your project in two ways. You can either include jQuery from the cloud if you are coding on the internet, or you can download jQuery offline and have your jQuery as a part of your project offline. So whatever you are doing, you can run it offline on your system without the need of internet. Now in my case here, because I want to, one, it is always advisable to use jQuery from the cloud. Like you can see over here, you can see this, and you can see this around the script tag is in the head section. It says script src equal to http://code.jquery.com jQuery-3.6.0.me.js. So what we are doing here is that we're connected to this is CDN that hosts jQuery code, and so we're connected to that CDN to bring in jQuery facilities into this spread. So this is one way you can include jQuery into your web development projects. Of course, we have div class equal to mobile card. Of course, this does not mean anything. Like I always say, these classes don't mean anything to HTML or HTML. It means to me because in my CSS, I use those classes to properly style each and every one of the things that I am handling. Okay, so we can have that in mind. So of course, we just created form ID equal to sign up form. Div, we have input type is equal to text. We already know about form, we have discussed form, placeholder. Okay, and you can see here we're not using pattern. We now have we have another div whereby we say enter 11 digits Nigerian phone number. Now the number must start with 0 and it must be 11 in number. This is part of the regular expression that we're talking about. So this is how you invoke jQuery. After you have included jQuery does not automatically start working. You have to invoke jQuery to work on your software, and that's why the way you invoke jQuery is with this. When you open the script tag near the end of the document, you say document.ready. Document refers to the current HTML document where jQuery is being called function, hash sign up form, we all know where the hash comes from. The ID of the form is sign up form dot on submit. This is another example of an event. This is another event again. Submission of form dot on submit it, and we can also have on click. This is jQuery. If it's not jQuery, what we would have had is document dot add event listener. We now have submit in bracket, and then we have another code. But now jQuery just makes it very simple. On dot on in bracket submit the event you want to listen to, comma function e dot prevent default. I already told you that e dot prevent default is used as a command in JavaScript to prevent a particular HTML element from carrying out the default task, the default value that it carries out in a standard HTML execution. Okay. So this is the phone.val. We're accessing the value that was entered by the end user in the form. So that's this .val method. This is available because of jQuery. If not for jQuery, if it was not jQuery, now we would have had to go through. We may have to go through .inner HTML, a lot of iterations before we can access this particular form element, this particular value that this user entered. And then we now have our phone regex, the regex of the phone, whereby this is just our. You see, one thing about regex, there are thousands of regex online. Whenever you want to develop a regex, I always advise you to go online and get the regex and develop. Because why? If you don't do it that way, you will have a lot of issues, because you may do a regex that will not work as it's supposed to work. But basically, let me tell you what this regex is doing. This is the starting point and this is the ending point, and it is saying first the number must start with what? 0, and it's saying the number should either can carry, the next number could either be 7, it could either be 8, or it could either be 9, and it's not saying 0 1. This one you are seeing, this 0 1 you are seeing like this, telling you that the remaining 8 were a Nigerian number is about 11 digits. So this is telling you that the remaining any other number of the alphabet can be, this 0 1 is just telling you that every other number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, all of them, you just need 8 more digits to complete the regex, and then the dollar sign is used to mark the end of a regular expression. So this is just basically what is happening here. But there are various kind of regex that we can use for various purposes, whether to validate phone numbers. You can even have some special things that you need to validate from an end user. That may not be a phone number, it may be custom things that you built that needs to be validated. You can also do it here. And then .phone error .fading as status.text, else at phone error .fade out as status.text. All these things are all possible because of jQuery. Like I said, jQuery helps to make the development of your application faster. Now if you run this code now, let's say, let me just enter an illegal number 8033242443. Okay, and if I say verify and reset, you see automatically enter valid 11 digits Nigerian phone number. And if I come here and if I should start with 1, then because normally the number should start with 0, I'll click verify, it will still reject it. But I'm very sure if I do 0, now the number will properly validate. So this is the job of a regex. The regex provides a common pattern that should be followed when building, when accepting and validating a particular user's data. This manual is going to be attached to this video. In this is going to be attached to this video. I will encourage you, there's an assignment in the manual. I encourage you to use that assignment, to do that assignment on your own. You're not submitting to anybody. No one is going to look over it to know whether you did it or not. But with the help, if you practice this assignment, it is going to help you so that you can be able to, you can test your strength and know the level that you have gotten to and the level that you have reached in all you have learned. Assignments help you understand whether you truly know what was taught or you don't know what was taught. Please do this assignment if you can on your own. Validate, check it for yourself and see how it works, and it will help you to do much more better. Have a lovely day. Okay. Yeah, we've come to the end of all the sessions for today, but don't forget to always wait for our bonus video. There's always a bonus video attached to each of these courses for every Friday. I want to encourage you, join us next Friday again for another set of tutorials and courses on this our HTML, CSS and JavaScript series, and I promise you won't regret it. Thank you for joining us. I still remain your humble host and your favorite instructor, Okolo Chukwuemebe Prince. Have a lovely day.